Hi guys, and welcome to All Things English. Let me start this lesson by asking you, which one of these two sentences do you think is correct? It's not a trick question, but it's a tricky question. And the answer is, well, let's find out. But let's do it slowly but surely, step by step. As the saying goes, sometimes slow and steady wins the race. And this is true when it comes to learning grammar. Because, as you probably already know, in English grammar, there are always certain rules to follow, and often enough, there are usually exceptions to these rules. And this is definitely the case with subject-verb agreement. Now, before we move on, let me just say that there are several different rules in order for a subject and a verb to agree with each other. And learning all these rules can be quite difficult to do in one go. So I've decided to divide this topic into several videos so that it'll be easier for you to process the information, to understand, and most important, to remember. Okay, are you guys ready? Let's do this. Subject-verb agreement simply means that the subject in a sentence must agree with the verb in that sentence. In the English language in particular, subject-verb agreement really is about quantity. So that's the key word, quantity, meaning the number of, right? So if the subject is singular, then the verb must be singular too. If the subject is plural, then the verb must be in its plural form too. It's a simple rule, but it's a very important one because the fact is the most basic sentence pattern in English is the subject plus verb pattern, or the SV pattern. And this means that every sentence requires at least a subject and a verb to make sense. For example, the sentence, I am. Fun fact, that's the shortest sentence in the English language. And it means, I exist, or you live, you learn. I study, she works, he travels, they sleep, and so on. Let's take a look at rule number 1. Singular subject, singular verb agreement. The key word here is singular, which comes from the root word single, which means only one. Some examples of singular subjects are I, you, he, she, Istanbul, Tokyo, book, car, invention, and so on. When it comes to singular verbs, an important thing to take note of is that all singular verbs end with an S. So some examples: writes, texts, emails, sends, travels, sleeps, etc., etc. Now, let's put some of these subjects and verbs together to see if they agree. He texts her on his cell phone every day. She sends emails to her clients. Istanbul is a beautiful city. So now let's check if these sentences are correct. All the nouns are singular, and all the verbs are singular too. So our subjects and verbs agree with each other. Rule number 2. Plural subject, plural verb agreement. Some examples of plural subjects are we, they, children, men, women, books, cities, cars, and so on. When it comes to plural verbs, unlike the singular ones, they don't end in S. Some examples: write, love, work, study, run, walk. Once again, let's take a look at some sentences and make sure that the subjects and verbs agree with each other. Men like watching football more than women. My eyes are itchy. The children are playing outside. So, taking a look at these sentences, we can see that all the subjects are plural and all the verbs are plural too. So our subjects and verbs agree with each other. Okay, now let's take a look at this sentence. I think he drinks too much. Now, if you take a look at this sentence, why is it that the singular subject, I, is followed by a plural verb, think? Well, that's because with the singular pronouns, I and you, we make an exception to the rules. And we'll be discussing that next video next week, because like I mentioned earlier, sometimes it's difficult to process a lot of information in one attempt. Alright guys, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and more importantly, I hope you learned something new. Feel free to subscribe if you found value in this lesson and would like to see more lessons like this every week. So that's it for now. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next video.